The King Kids and the Tossed Tooth, Book 3 in the King Kids series, written by Cherie Elaine and read for you by Cindy Gunderson. Copyright 2023, Cherie Elaine. Introduction. My name is Tyson King. I am the second oldest in our family, but only by a few minutes, because I was closely followed into this world by Afton, my twin sister. We just turned 7. It is nice having someone to share the middle child role with. I have an older brother, John. He's 9. He is super into science and math. He does some really cool experiments that he lets me help with occasionally. He also co-invented Robo-Ren with my dad, a robot that helps around the house. I also have a baby sister, Olivia. She is the cutest 1-year-old around. I have to leave my door closed when I leave for school because otherwise she gets in and makes a big mess. I love to make her laugh. Peekaboo and silly faces usually do the trick. Mom and Dad are photographers. Mom photographs families and community events while Dad focuses mostly on nature. He's also an engineer, but he only does that during the day. My favorites are his animal photos. I would say we are your typical family. Loud, fun, busy, and sometimes a little crazy. We may not be royalty, but to us, family is most important. That's why John, Afton, Olivia, and I will forever cherish and claim the title of the King Kids. Chapter 1. Beep, 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 beep. It's the all too familiar sound of my alarm clock going off. Okay, I'm awake. I lay there for an extra few seconds to wiggle my front tooth with my tongue. I lost the other front tooth around Christmas and it has mostly grown back in. Now its neighbor is ready to come out too. I'm glad to feel that it's still super loose. I jump up to turn off my alarm because in the time it took to wiggle my tooth, my alarm starts beeping louder and faster like a bomb about to go off. I throw on my favorite dinosaur shirt and some nice jeans. As I pull my shirt over my head, I look in the corner of my room and see my genius contraption. A box, some yarn, and the stick I got from the backyard. I am going to catch the tooth fairy. I have it all planned out. I'm going to sleep with my head at the opposite end of the bed. I'm going to set up the box, propped up with the stick on top of my pillow. I'm going to tie the yarn around the stick and attach the other end to my tooth, which I will then place in the box. I'm going to make a sign that says tooth with an arrow pointing to, just so she knows it's not under the pillow. When the tooth fairy grabs my tooth, the stick will get knocked down and the box will fall, trapping the tooth fairy. I won't keep her long. I know she's busy. I just want to say hi and thank you. My stomach growls and I head downstairs for some breakfast. I hear John singing in the shower, so I know he won't be down for a while. When I get to the kitchen, Afton and Olivia are already eating French toast with powdered sugar and syrup. Delicious. Olivia has it all over her, even in her hair. I get my plate and fill it up. When I sit down next to Olivia, she babbles and reaches out to me like she wants me to pick her up. Not a chance, sticky sister. I make a silly face at her and she giggles. Mom comes in and kisses me on top of the head before scooping Olivia up out of her high chair and washing her up at the sink. After she puts Olivia down to go play with toys, she grabs my spelling list off the fridge, where we keep it safe with a sparkly bear magnet. Mom quizzes me, and I spell the words between bites. I only miss one. The I before E rule is tricky. John comes in with his hair still wet and starts loading up a plate for breakfast. Hey, John, want to hear a construction joke? I ask. Sure, he says, while loading what Mom would consider way too much powdered sugar onto his French toast. I'm still working on it. He pauses mid-syrup pour. Wait for it. His eyes light up and he continues pouring his syrup. He's got it. Good one, John says with a light chuckle. I had to think about that for a second. I put my dishes in the sink and head upstairs to brush my teeth. Afton is already in there brushing hers. I slide into the bathroom and bump her with my hip. Hey, twinner, what has teeth but no mouth? She spits her toothpaste into the sink and says, a comb. Shoot, You've already heard that one? I ask. It's in one of the books at the dentist's office. Oh, yeah. I'll have to try that one on someone else sometime. After brushing my teeth, I head downstairs, grab my backpack, and rush to the door. I pass John on the stairs. Hurry, John! Carpool is going to be here soon, I say, poking him in the side. Ah! He yelps. I'm coming. I just need to get my book. It's library day. My mom is standing by the front door with her hands full of apples. She hands one each to Afton and me. It's our emergency snack, just in case we get hungry before or after lunchtime. I stick it in my jacket pocket for later. As I open the door, Mom asks, Hey, Tyson, why is a computer so smart? I pause, waiting for the punchline. Because it listens to its motherboard. Good one, Mom, I say with a small laugh and a wave. See you later. Chapter 2. When we get to school, Afton goes and stands by her class line and talks to some of the girls in her class. We've always been in the same class, but not this year. I have Mrs. Pax, and she has Mrs. Lemon. I was disappointed at first, but I still see her at recess and lunchtime. John's friend invites us to kick a soccer ball with him. Every time I run to kick the ball, the apple in my pocket hits against my hip. After a few rounds back and forth, the first bell rings. That's the one that tells us to line up and wait for our teacher to come take us to our classroom. I decide the apple is too bulky in my pocket. I don't want to carry it around all day, so I decide to eat it while I wait in line. I take a huge bite to start, because I'm not sure how much time I'll have. Ouch! I feel a stinging pinch, and when I look at my apple, there's a little bit of blood and my tooth. I run to the aide by the door of the school. Hey there, it's time to line up with your class, she says. It's my voof, I say, pointing, trying to keep the blood from running down my chin. Oh, she says, surprised. She reaches into her neon vest's pocket and pulls out a small package of tissues. After fumbling with the packaging, she pulls one out and hands it to me. Here you go. Thank you, I say, shoving the tissue in my mouth to stop the bleeding. Here, take another one just in case. She hands me another. And congratulations. I give her a thumbs up and join the line again just as Mrs. Pax comes out to walk us to our classroom. Chapter 3. After everyone is settled into the classroom, I head to Mrs. Pax's desk and show her my tooth, which is still lodged in the apple. Oh my goodness, she says. Are you okay? Yes. I show her that the bleeding has stopped and smile just for good measure. Well, look at that. Let me get you a baggie for that tooth, she says, rummaging in her desk. Once the tooth is safe in the baggie, I head to my desk. Everyone that sits at my table leans over to take a look at the tooth. They say things like, Lucky, now the tooth fairy will come to your house. Can I touch it? And I lost my tooth over the summer. I put the tooth in my pocket when Mrs. Pax stands up from her desk to start class. We go over the schedule for the day. We have art this afternoon. That'll be fun. Then she asks us to turn in our homework assignments from yesterday. And don't forget that everyone that turns in an assignment gets a class coin. We have a class store once a month that we can spend our class coins at. We get coins for positive behavior and lose coins for negative behavior. So far this year, I've only lost one coin, and that was for telling jokes during silent reading time. Lesson learned. I collect everyone's paper from our table and take it to the basket on Mrs. Pax's desk. I grab a coin for everyone and then return to my seat. I hand everyone their coin and they add it to their plastic containers. Each of our containers has a white label with our name on it. After we're all settled back into our desks, it's time for math, then science. I may not enjoy these subjects as much as John, but I'm still pretty good at them. After science, it's time for morning recess. At recess, I hunt down Afton. I show her my tooth and tell her the story. That's so great! I wonder when I'll lose my front teeth, she says. Maybe by Christmas. I hum a few lines of all I want for Christmas is my 2 front teeth. Maybe. She laughs and then looks behind me. I spin around to see what she's looking at, but it's too late. Her friend Annie is running straight at me with her arm outstretched. "Tag!" Annie says, shoving my shoulder. She and Afton run away from me giggling. I recover from the surprise tag attack and run after them. A few minutes later, it's time to go back to class. Mrs. Pax talks about some of our spelling words. We break into reading groups for a while, and then it's time for lunch. Chapter 4. Lunchtime. I'm so glad. Between soccer before school and tag during morning recess, I've worked up an appetite. I stand in line with a tray and stand on my tiptoes, leaning from side to side to try and see what is for lunch today. When I am close enough, I see that it's hamburgers and tater tots. Yum! The pears look really good, too. With my tray full, I walk over to sit next to my buddy Brian. We were in the same class last year. He has a home lunch today, a peanut butter and jelly sandwich, crackers, applesauce, and some cookies. I grin when he offers me one. "Thanks. These look great," I say. "My mom made them last night." "Hey, you lost your tooth. Does that mean you're going to catch the tooth fairy?" he asks. "I hope so. I have everything ready to set up tonight. Want to see the tooth?" "You have it with you?" Brian asks. I explain how I lost my tooth in my apple this morning. "That's awesome," he says. I show him. Then set the baggie with my tooth in it on my tray as we talk about the new yo-yo he got from his uncle over the weekend. We both jump and cover our ears when the unexpected sound of the fire alarm blares overhead. A fire drill? Now? We leave our food enjoying the chaos. Kids are running into each other in their dash for the doors. We haven't had to evacuate from the cafeteria before. Once outside, we go our separate ways to our classes' designated safe spots. My class meets on the edge of the field closest to the road. As we wait, we hear more alarms going off. Wait, those aren't alarms. They're sirens. 3 fire trucks and 2 police cars pull up to the front of the school. The firefighters jump out and rush into the building. Mrs. Pax shows up about a minute later. She makes sure that the whole class is there and then has us sit. "This isn't a drill," she explains. "There was a small fire in the kitchen. The fire was out before the firefighters arrived, but it's protocol that they check every room before they leave." That could take a while. A girl in the class gets everyone sitting in a circle and starts a game of Down by the Banks. I am eliminated pretty quickly, but it is fun to watch the circle get smaller and smaller as people get their hands slapped and are out. I notice the principal over by the fire trucks talking to a firefighter. Maybe we'll be able to go back inside soon? The Down by the Bank circle is down to 4 people when the principal walks over and tells Mrs. Pax to wait 5 to 10 minutes, and then she can take us back to the classroom. We finish up the Down by the Banks game and begin to follow Mrs. Pax back to class. I look over my shoulder and see Afton with her class. I start walking backwards and shout, "Afton, what do you call?" I don't get to finish my joke because my heel catches on something, and the next thing I know, I am on my back with a sharp pain in the back of my head. I keep my eyes closed to try to keep from crying. When I open my eyes again, I am surprised to see not only Afton and a couple of classmates, but a firefighter standing over me. "That was quite the stumble there, kiddo," the fireman says. He crouches down next to me and Mrs. Pax comes over to tell all the students to stand back. I try to get up, but he holds a hand on my shoulder to keep me down. "Whoa, buddy. Take it easy. How do you feel?" "Fine," I say slowly. "I hit my head kind of hard, but I'll be okay." The fireman grabs my hand and helps me into a seated position. I feel slightly nauseous. He looks carefully into my eyes. "Follow my finger with your eyes," he says. I do. "Good, good. Can you turn your head side to side for me?" I do that too. The fireman gives a curt nod and helps me the rest of the way to my feet. "Looks like you are going to have a pretty good headache for a while, but no permanent damage. Do you feel up to heading back to class?" "I think so," I say. "You're one tough kid," he says, putting his fist out. I put my fist out and we fist bump. He heads back to the group of firemen in front of the school. Afton gives me a hug and then heads to her classroom. I follow my teacher back to my class. Chapter 5. Once settled back into the classroom, Mrs. Pax gives everyone a class coin for being so good during what she calls the fire fiasco. I'm up to 19 coins now. Everyone rests their heads on their desk while Mrs. Pax reads us the next chapter of the book we're reading as a class. It's a good one, about animals that can talk, a farmer that can understand them, and a big rainstorm. I'm glad it's resting time because the back of my head is starting to throb. When she finishes the chapter, it's time to go to art class. When we line up to head to art, I think about showing the tooth to Mrs. Mills, the art teacher. I reach my hand into my pocket and stop. I don't have my tooth. Oh no! It was on my tray in the cafeteria. I hurry to the front of the line and tell Mrs. Pax. I ask her if I can go to the cafeteria to look. Yes, go straight there and then straight to the art room, she says. I will, I promise. When I reach the cafeteria, all the tables are cleared and the only person in there is the janitor, Mr. Luthi, sweeping. He has his headphones in and doesn't notice me until I come around on his left side. He jumps a little and takes his headphones off. Hey there, what can I do for you? Hi, I lost my tooth this morning and left it on my tray when the fire alarms went off. It was in a little baggie my teacher gave me. Any idea what would have happened to it? I ask. I'm afraid the cafeteria workers cleaned everything up when all you kids went back to your classrooms. It was most likely thrown away. I try not to show my disappointment, but I must not have done a good job, because Mr. Luthi says, I'm sorry, little man. Teeth are such a big deal at your age. I haven't taken the trash out to the dumpsters yet. You're welcome to look. He points to 3 big black trash bins on wheels. I feel a spark of hope. That spark dies pretty quickly when I get to the trash cans. I quickly put my left hand over my nose and mouth. Yuck. I look closely at the first trash can and don't see anything, but when I get to the second one, I pause. There is a corner of a baggie sticking out. I can't believe I'm doing this. I slowly reach toward the baggie and pull it out of the trash. A half-eaten burger, a soggy peanut butter and jelly sandwich, and who knows what else slides off the bag. I gag a bit and look at the baggie. It's not my tooth. It's the bag of crackers Brian had in his lunch. That must mean my tray was probably thrown away here too. I pick up a plastic fork that was sitting on top of the trash and start moving things around. Not something I imagined doing today. The phrase dumpster diving pops into my head and I imagine jumping in head first to find my tooth. Blech! Any luck? Mr. Luthi asks as he comes to stand next to me. I shake my head and drop the plastic fork on top of the trash. We both stare at the trash in the bin for a few seconds. Where could it be? It's fine, I say, turning around and leaving the cafeteria. I shuffle my feet as I head towards the art room. I see Mrs. Pax in the hallway. Any luck? She asks. I manage an unenthusiastic half-smile at the repeated question. No, everything was thrown away when we went back to our classrooms. I looked in the trash but didn't find it, I respond. I'm so sorry. I know how much you were looking forward to the tooth fairy coming. Losing your tooth and falling and hitting your head? This just isn't your day. She isn't wrong. Definitely wash your hands once you get to the art room. I frown and nod. That would help get rid of the grimy feeling. I keep walking toward the art room as Mrs. Pax heads back to the classroom. Mrs. Mills, our art teacher, has shoulder-length gray hair, glasses, and a contagious smile. The art room walls are always filled with decorations for whatever holiday is closest and artwork from her students. I wash my hands at the sink before sliding into an open desk at the back of the room. Today, we are working on shading. She has an apple on every few desks and shows us how to use the side of the lead on our pencil to create depth. I rest my head on my left arm while drawing with my right. After a few minutes, I feel a hand on my back and look up to see a concerned look on Mrs. Mills' face. Are you all right, Tyson? I fell and hit my head during the fire evacuation, and it's really starting to hurt, I say with a grimace. Oh, no. Why don't you head to the nurse's office, and she can give you an ice pack, and maybe call your mom? Yeah, that's probably a good idea, I say sadly. I leave my apple shading project on the table and go. I walk to the nurse's office and she is ready with an ice pack. Mrs. Mills called to tell me you were coming. Come lay down and I'll give your mom a call, she says, gesturing to the cot in the corner. Thanks, I mumble and close my eyes while I wait. About 20 minutes later, my mom arrives with Olivia. Hey, bud. They told me what happened. Are you doing all right? I'll be okay. Just a bad headache. Let's get you home. We can give you some medicine for that headache and let you rest for a few hours. That sounds nice, I say with a sigh. What about my backpack? You lay down. I'll go get it. Olivia waves bye to me excitedly as they leave the nurse's office. Chapter 6. Mom comes back with my backpack and a stack of papers. She's holding everything a little awkwardly because Olivia is wiggling and trying to get down. I take my backpack from her so she has another arm to wrestle Olivia with. As we drive home, Mom reminds me that I have Taekwondo after school. You don't have to go if your head is still hurting. I nod, then frown and scrunch my eyes against the pain. I hope I'm feeling better. If I miss Taekwondo, then the next class I have to start with 25 squat thrusts. When we get home, our puppy Daffy yips and runs around my feet, occasionally jumping up. Normally, I'd scoop her up and practice her tricks with her, but right now, her little barks are like a nail driving into my head. Robo-Ren is vacuuming the stairs. Robo-Ren, why don't you go power down and you can finish vacuuming later? Sure thing, Mom. Fantastic hair today, by the way. Aw, thanks, she says, then turning to me adds, I'll go get the medicine and you lay down on the couch. I am all too happy to comply. As soon as I lay down, Olivia starts bringing me her toys to play with. I don't have the energy to play, so she just keeps stacking them on top of me. I'm up to about 10 toys piled on me when Mom comes back with the medicine and a blanket. We both laugh as she picks up Olivia and puts the toys away. I take the medicine and lay back down. Mom covers me with the blanket, then takes Olivia and Daffy outside to play so I can rest. A few minutes later, I feel the headache medicine starting to kick in. A lot of the tension leaving my shoulders and neck. I exhale deeply, feeling the soft warmth of the blanket. My eyelids flutter closed, and the next thing I know... Tyson, honey. I hear Mom's voice as if it's really far away. I say slowly, not ready to open my eyes. I feel her hand on my shoulder and realize she's not far away at all. You fell asleep. We need to go pick up Afton and John from school. How are you feeling? It takes me a minute to respond. I open my eyes, a little groggy from my unintentional nap. I feel a lot better, I say, swinging my legs off the couch to stand up. No dizzy feeling or anything. Oh, that's great. Take it easy for the next little bit and you can go to Taekwondo. Oh, and I almost forgot. She walks to the kitchen and comes back with a card. It has a smiling tooth on the front of it. Your teacher wrote this note. I take it from her and open it up. It reads, Dear Tooth Fairy, Tyson lost a tooth today. He was so excited to show it to all his friends, as he should be. It was a great tooth. We had a little fire fiasco in the school kitchen, and in the confusion, his tooth was thrown away. I hope you can accept this note instead of the tooth. It really was so well taken care of. Sincerely, Mrs. Pax, Tyson's teacher. I close the note and look at Mom, who's watching me read. Do you think the tooth fairy will still come? I ask. I don't know, but it's worth a try. Go change into your white shirt and sweats. We'll go straight from picking up the rest of the school kids. I'm feeling a lot better, and not just because my headache is gone. Chapter 7. We get in line for school pickup, and I have an all-new appreciation for all that Mom does. It's a lot of waiting, honking, and slowly inching forward. When we finally make it to the front of the line and John and Afton get in, they tell us where they were during the kitchen fire. John's class had already finished lunch and were out playing. The recess aide came and told everyone to go to their class's safe spot. I already knew Afton was at lunch with me, just on the other side of the cafeteria. Mom pulls up in front of Red Bridge Taekwondo. I jump out of the car, swing my bag over my shoulder, and wave to Mom as she drives away from the building. I walk into the dojang and feel the stale, warm air. It smells like sweat and hard work. I turn to the right where there are cubbies to put our gym bags and shoes. I take off my socks and shoes and put my uniform on over my shorts and white shirt. After tying my belt securely, I glance around the room. I take a minute to read the words off the back wall. It's painted red, and in bold black letters are the words courtesy, integrity, perseverance, self-control, and indomitable spirit. All things I want to achieve. From the corner of my eye, I see Guy, the owner of the gym, waving me over. I walk toward him, noticing that his long red hair is braided down his back today. "Hey, Tyson," he says. "How are, oh, you didn't lose that tooth here, did you?" He looks half concerned, half impressed. "No," I laugh. "At school." "Oh, that's good. One time at a tournament, I saw a man take a roundhouse kick straight to the mouth. He lost 3 teeth. That's him there." He points toward the wall that has framed photos of all the past Taekwondo championship tournaments. I look closer at the one he pointed at, and sure enough, the man has a few teeth missing. "I bet he'll never forget his mouth guard again," Guy says, shaking his head. I look around at the other framed photos, looking forward to the day my own picture is on that wall. I turn back to Guy and say, "Hey, what do you get when you teach a pig Taekwondo?" He looks at me, waiting for the punchline. "A pork chop." His deep belly laugh is interrupted by his son. Guy's son, who looks just like his dad but with short hair and glasses, calls out that it's time to get started. He's a black belt and leads the lessons each week with the help of other black belts that have already gone through the program. I join in the loud chorus of about 10 others saying, "Yes, sir!" After we all bow in and line up, we begin with warm-ups. We run around the red and blue mat, do frog jumps, and then a series of stretches. After that, we break into groups according to our belt color and practice our forms, a series of kicks, hits, and blocks that we need to memorize and perfect before getting our next belt. I look above the mirrors where they have all the belt colors starting with white, then white with stripes, yellow, all the way to black. If I work hard and stay focused, I can get my black belt in another 4 years. After practicing forms, we come back together as a large group, partner up, and practice sparring. When it's time for parents to come pick us up, we are all sweaty, tired, and very hungry. After I put my uniform back into my gym bag and get my socks and shoes back on, I head out to the parking lot where Dad is hopefully there to pick me up. He usually comes straight from work so that Mom can make dinner uninterrupted. I see the car, but no Dad. As I walk around the side of the car, I see him. He is lying on his stomach in the middle of the parking lot, taking pictures of a bird that's playing in a puddle. "Hi, Dad," I say, accidentally scaring off the bird. "Oh, sorry." "Not a problem. I got some great shots." Dad stands up and puts his arm around me as we walk to his car. He gives a little apologetic wave to the parents in the small line of cars that were patiently waiting for him to move so they could take their kids home. On the short drive to the house, Dad explains how perfect the lighting was for the photo of the bird and how he's going to edit it after dinner. He'll post it to his website, where people all around the world buy his prints. Chapter 8. When we walk into the house, I see Mom leaning on the counter next to the oven. There's only 2 minutes and 32 seconds left on the oven timer. I'm happy to see corn on the cob boiling on the stove and no broccoli anywhere. Broccoli is the worst. Daffy is in her playpen in the laundry room, probably so she doesn't jump up and burn her paws on the oven. I pat her on the head and scratch her behind the ears before washing my hands for dinner. My stomach growls as I settle into my seat, and Mom calls for everyone else to come to the table. Dad gives Mom a quick kiss and then comes and sits by me. Mom talks over the noise of the French bread pizza coming out of the oven and says, "Tyson lost his tooth today." I show Dad the place in my mouth where the tooth is gone. "Looking good," Dad says. "You should have said something on the drive home." I actually lost the tooth twice today. Once when I was in line at school. I bit into an apple and it came out, and then again during lunch when we had to go outside because the fire alarms were going off. My tooth was on my lunch tray and it must have been thrown out with the food. I searched in the trash bins but didn't find it. My teacher wrote a note to the tooth fairy though, so maybe she'll still come? I would think so, Dad says. I hear she's a pretty understanding lady. That's good, but I still wish I had the tooth. Dad looks sympathetic, then switches gears, telling us about wanting to go to a tiger refuge in the next town over to take pictures. Sounds thrilling. I have a family reunion photo shoot with the Braxtons on Saturday morning, but we could head to the refuge in the afternoon, after Olivia's nap, Mom says with a smile. Let's do it, Dad says. I have a question. I jump in. Yes, Mom says, and everyone looks at me quizzically. What is the fiercest flower in a garden? Well, daylilies are pretty tough, but so are peonies, Afton says quickly, but stops when she sees the amusement on my face. A tiger lily, I say. Everyone laughs and Afton rolls her eyes. Getting a laugh out of everyone always makes me feel better. You know it's funny, Afton. I wink at her. She just smiles, shakes her head, and turns back to her food. Okay, one more. Why do tigers have stripes? I don't know. Why do tigers have stripes? Dad asks, playing along. Because they don't want to be spotted. There's another round of laughs. After dinner, I do my homework, make my tooth sign, then watch Dad edit his photos of the bird. After Mom puts Olivia to bed, the rest of the family plays a few rounds of a card game. Mom wins them all. Can we play until someone else wins? John asks. No, we'd be here all night, Mom says with a cheeky grin. With smiles and a few eye rolls, the other kids head upstairs to get pajamas and brush teeth. When I get to my room, I go to work. I can hear Mom talking to Afton next door, so I know she'll be in here to tuck me in next. I untuck the sheets from the foot of my bed so I can lay with my feet towards my pillow. I carefully set the box on top of the pillow, tape the tooth and arrow sign to the box, and grab the stick. I tape one end of the yarn to the note from my teacher and tie the other to the stick. After carefully propping the stick to hold up the box, I slip very, very slowly under my sheet, careful not to bump the box. Laying in my bed without a pillow is a little uncomfortable, but it will be worth it. I feel the spot where my tooth used to be and wonder how long until the permanent tooth starts growing in. It was a little tricky eating the corn on the cob tonight, with only one front tooth. I hear Mom open the door and bend my neck awkwardly to see her. Did you put the note under your... What's all this? She asks with a hint of a laugh in her voice. I'm going to catch the tooth fairy. Oh? She says with eyebrows raised. Well, I'm going to try. I'll let her go again right away. I just want to see her and say thanks. That's a nice idea, she says as she gently tucks my sheets around me. She straightens up and goes to inspect my tooth fairy trap more closely. Looks like it just might work. Good night, she says, blowing me a kiss and closing the door softly behind her. Chapter 9. I turn on my side in bed and hear a noise near my feet. Where's my pillow? I slowly blink my eyes open and look at the clock. 6:30. My alarm hasn't even gone off yet. I close my eyes again, but then remember, my tooth fairy trap. I look at the other end of the bed and see that the box has fallen down. Did I catch her? Uh-oh. Was she trapped all night? I slide out of bed carefully and slowly lift the box, my heart pounding. It's empty. I'm half disappointed, half relieved. There would have been some sad kids if I'd kept the tooth fairy trapped all night. All other emotions are replaced with excitement when I lift the pillow and see George Washington looking up at me. A whole $1? I know it's early, but I want to show Mom and Dad. Since I'm already up, I turn off the alarm on the clock on my dresser. I quietly open my door and walk down the hallway to their room. I can see a light shining from under the door. Good. They're awake. I lightly knock as I open the door. Dad's still in bed, and Mom is in their bathroom with her hair in a towel putting on her makeup. Hey, buddy. What are you doing up so early? Dad asks quietly as he rolls over in bed to face me. I jump onto the end of the bed and show him the $1. She came, I say with a little bounce. She sure did, Mom says, coming over to see the $1 and give me a side hug. What will you do with the $1? I'm going to save it for now, add it to my birthday money. Maybe save up for a new joke book or something. Great idea, Dad says. Can't have too many of those. Exactly, I say with a grin. Since you're up, why don't you go get dressed for the day and then come downstairs and help me make pancakes? I do a handstand and somersault off the bed and head towards the door. Just as I'm leaving, I turn back. Mom? Dad? They both look over at me. I know I've said I want to be a ninja when I grow up, but I've changed my mind. They look at each other, then back at me. I'm going to be a fireman. Chapter 10. Everyone is still talking about the fire in the kitchen when we arrive at school the next day. Apparently, the cafeteria workers forgot to set a timer for a batch of tater tots, and they caught fire in the oven. The cafeteria workers put it out with the fire extinguisher before the firemen showed up, and it was all just protocol after that. I walk into the classroom and head toward my desk. I stop and turn when Mrs. Pax calls me over to her desk instead. Did you leave the tooth fairy my note? She asks eagerly. Did it work? Did she still come? Yes, I smile wide. I got a whole $1. That's wonderful. I'm so glad. I do have a surprise for you, though. She reaches into her desk and pulls out a little baggie with my tooth, I exclaim as she puts it in my hand. How did you get it? After everyone was allowed back into the school yesterday, the cafeteria workers were cleaning off trays. The lady that cleaned your table saw your tooth and figured it was important, so she stuck it in her pocket. When she came to work this morning, she asked a teacher what she should do with it. The teacher brought it to the morning meeting and asked if anyone knew anything about it. I immediately claimed it, knowing how sad you were to lose it yesterday. Thank you, thank you, thank you, I say, throwing my arms around her. She smiles up at me with her arms pinned to her sides by my hug. I head back to my desk. I wonder if the tooth fairy would come again? We hope you enjoyed this production of The King Kids and the Tossed Tooth, Book 3 in the King Kids series, written by Cherie Elaine and narrated by Cindy Gunderson. Copyright 2023, Cherie Elaine.